Hi, this is Gary Goodwin, founder of The Stuck Creative, and welcome. This is the place to come for tips, tools, and techniques for getting unstuck, staying unstuck, and getting your projects done at last. Creatives, all creatives need drive, energy, clarity, and inspiration to start and to live a creative life. One of the fastest and best ways that I know to get all of that is through creative daydreaming. And it doesn't take a lot to make powerful daydreams. I'm going to teach you what you need to know, cover it all. Once you have it, you'll be ready to go. And it just takes a few simple steps and you'll have your first daydream. Creative daydreams are created and crafted by you, totally customized for you. No one else can build it. And you're far more practiced and experienced with daydreaming than you might realize, since we're daydreaming all the time. 47% of our day, it's been calculated that we're daydreaming. So why not put that to good use for getting unstuck and staying unstuck and getting things done? Enough talk, let's go. Daydreaming, it's a concept, it's a word that we all know, but I need to spend a few minutes untangling what we think we know about daydreaming, modifying it a little bit so that we can concentrate on creative daydreaming. First of all, daydreaming is a form of visualization. Nearly everyone can visualize, that is, bring up a representation. It's usually a visual representation of something they've experienced or something that they can put together from other experiences to run it through one's mind, to examine it, to learn something from it. For instance, if I want to repaint a room, I will bring up various colors and in my mind's eye see what the colors will look like. Or someone asks me for instructions, directions, how to get from this point to a point down the street. What I have to do is go inside, recover the course in my mind's eye, and then be able to give the person who's asking the various landmarks they're likely to see as they go and take the journey themselves. That is visualization. Daydreaming takes that ability to visualize, but takes it further. And that's why I consider it daydreaming is going beyond just visualizing. We can think of daydreaming as visualization expanded. And the first way we can expand upon visualization is by having a complex collection of things we want to look at. Most people, when they want to visualize and just keep it to a single task they're trying to achieve. For instance, redecorating a room requires going into one's mind's eye and testing out colors, one color and another color, and coming to some decision, and then that's it. Daydreaming will be complex in that it will have lots of content. It will have maybe static images. It will have sounds. It will have little mini vignettes that I call, mental movies or mini movies. It will have a whole collection of things. Certainly, that is much more complex than 99% of the visualization that people do. Daydreaming is visualization expanded also in the sense of time. Because they're complex, more complex than visualizations, it will take more time to run them through our mind's eye. We also will need more time because of the depth. We tend to give more of ourselves and evoke more of our feelings, our thoughts, our impressions in daydreaming than we do with a simple visualization. I think I've sufficiently untangled daydreaming from visualization, but there's a bit more untangling that we have to do. Once we get this last bit of untangling done, then we can concentrate on how to form daydreams, how to use them, and so forth. But I did not want to end this discussion without focusing on there's a clear bias against daydreaming. I don't want that bias to trip up people from learning how to use daydreaming because it's a very powerful tool, as I said before. Something that's been drilled into most of us, maybe all of us, is that daydreaming is bad. There's something wrong with daydreaming. Holding this bias means that we consider daydreams as being maladaptive, or that they're delusions of grandeur, or they're dumb plans, or they're kid stuff, or they're a sure way to avoid something, or a sure way to avoid doing real work, or they're a waste of time. But our inner life, our inner world is much more complex than what the simple bias points to. We daydream frequently in very constructive ways, very productive ways, for planning purposes, for examining something, for experimenting with something, also to motivate ourselves. We'll consider some of the best examples in whatever we're interested in, some of the best examples and some of the best outputs or productions of those exemplars. That's motivational. That is not maladaptive. If we stop to think, well, what is a novel? What is poetry? What is a movie? Then we find that those are constructions that really hit us and affect us as daydreaming. Perhaps I could call them passive daydreaming. Are all those things maladaptive? A waste of time? Child's play? Certainly not. Creative daydreaming has the underlying theme of being productive, of doing things ourselves, of getting better, of learning new things, stretching ourselves, moving into new areas or mastering old areas. It's not about dreaming or fantasizing about doing something. It's about getting ready or getting into it or sustaining oneself in productivity. That is creative daydreaming. With all that clarified, now we can turn to the daydream itself. I want to take just a few moments to look at the big picture. I don't want to be too academic on this, but I want to talk about the processes of why daydreaming could possibly work, and to show when we're daydreaming, we are not doing something that's one-off. We're not doing something that is unusual. We're jumping right into the middle of natural processes, important processes, powerful processes that our body or mind is doing all the time. But we're putting ourselves in and getting involved with it and shaping it and being creative with it. Our body, our minds, or some combination of the two or something else has the extraordinary ability to remember experiences, not in an autobiographical sense, but down to the micro processes, some of which we know and some of which we don't know. How fast was the heart beating, and what was the brain state, and what was our emotional state, and what was going on with our immunity, and it just goes on and on and on. An extraordinary collection of the experience and all the operations and the combination of operations that happened during that experience. Do we remember everything that's ever happened to us? Some people say that with such certainty. No one can prove it one way or the other, but I can say it's clear that we do remember an extraordinary number of things that happened to us in our lifetime at an extraordinary degree. We also have the natural process, the natural ability, the capacity for tapping into that deep, deep memory and bringing up some of the details so that we can replay them in a sense. So we can get not only some sense of what happened, but also to replay how we felt during an event or what was going on during an event, both at the very, basic level, a highly conscious level that we remember this or that, but also down to sort of between where we're not quite sure everything that we're bringing up or everything that we're remembering, but we're getting some of its elements because it feels right. We're connecting with it. It seems like what we would have experienced or what we did experience in a particular situation. Let me just repeat what we have so far. We have one natural process that makes a recording of what happens in our life to an incredible degree that is recorded. And number two, we have the natural ability to at least replay, to find, to discover, and replay some of that detail. As time goes on, as we become more expert at daydreaming at this time as well as in the future, we will be able to recover more material, more of the experience down to its specifics. And the replaying can happen from a piece or a particle of an event or much of the event. Us remembering it either consciously or unconsciously. Sometimes it only takes a fragment, a sound, or a familiar image, or a familiar scent, and that unleashes those past memories of those very complex operations. We don't need the whole thing for our daydream. We can reactivate those processes from fragments, and frequently that's all we have. Let's pull this together a bit with a practical example. I think one of the earliest daydreams that creatives need to form is one that brings up energy, brings up focus, brings up at least a touch of inspiration, especially before getting down to work sessions. If we feel neutral or we don't feel positive about getting into our daily work sessions, that's a perfect time to have a short dream that has elements of inspiration, focus, and energy. And to build our first daydream, we need to, as we know now, to turn to our previous experiences where we've found inspiration before, where we've found focus before, where we've found energy. They can be all sorts of experiences, but the main thing is they gave us the energy, the focus, and inspiration. Once we have that list of experiences, then we need to collect fragments, especially fragments that have some energy about them. If I feel inspired and I know that a previous meeting with an artist had inspired me, but the only fragment of that experience that I bring up is the simple notation, I met this person, that's not going to do it. We need to have fragments that we know have energy about them, and because of that energy is available to us, then that energy will be connected to more energy behind it, more parts of the experience. So it is not me just remembering I met someone as a fact, but being able to recall, why did I feel the meeting was inspiring or energizing? What about it? What pieces of that event can I say that, and when I bring it up again, it feels inspiring or focusing or energizing? That's what I'm after. Well, that should give you some hints as far as the work that's ahead. Well, we've made progress today. We've covered the basics. In part 2 of this series, we're going to go into building your daydream. We're going to go into more of the specifics of that. We're going to cover what are the contents of a daydream. If you were to boil down all daydreams, what are the common contents? Where do you get your contents? And also how to go ahead and make your own daydream. So I hope you'll continue on with this series. And that's it for today. Thank you for being here. This is Gary Goodwin, founder of The Stuck Creative. And I will see you next time.